What's up, guys? I figured I would make a quick video here today. It's Sunday and just got out of church, fixing to go pick up a TIG welder. But anyways, figured I'd make a video showing you guys the after the blast process when the car comes back from blast. Plus, we also had a comment on the last video asking where all the supports are, where the bracing is. So stay tuned and I'm going to get right into why I don't have bracing, when I use bracing, and what happens to the car after it comes back from blast. So stay tuned. Alright guys, like I said in the video, after blast and why there's no bracing, we're going to jump right in on this car. This is a 70 Roadrunner convertible. It's our first official build for the shop, and I'm going to go over what it looks like after blast, what happened during blast, and I'm also going to talk about bracing on the car. So this is the car. It's back from blast. It is Sunday, and I'm out of church. We have another car being delivered tomorrow, I think a 68 or 69 Charger. So, been blessed, and we're pretty much booked out for the whole next year, which is great. So, I'm going to grab the camera. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to show you guys what's going on with the car, talk a little bit about it, show you guys some tools that some of you might not know about if you've watched my channel. You've probably seen me use this tool before, and if not, you're going to learn today. Here's the car, 70 Roadrunner convertible, and it is back from blast. Sandy John always does an awesome job. If you're in this area, I suggest using Sandy John to do all your sandblasting. He also does powder coating. So this is the 70 Roadrunner, and spots that didn't need blasting got sprayed with some paint, which only had silver, so you can't hardly see it. And I'm going to find some that Sandy John can see whenever the car goes to blast next time, because he wears a hood and he can't see it. So I want to make it to where he'll be able to see it a little bit better. But anyways, I marked everything that don't get blasted because I know that it is already gone. I can look at it and tell that it's going to get replaced. You can see this is pretty much gone. Knew it was going to get replaced because there's nothing there. This car is going to get tubbed, so the inner wheel houses are going to get gone. Outer wheel houses are rotted, so they're obviously gone. There's no need in blasting and wasting time on all that. This lower piece here was already gone, so I knew there was no need in blasting it, so he didn't blast there. Same with this wheelhouse, back end. Tail panel had some damage, so no need in blasting it. I just left it together. This side over here wasn't super bad, but somebody's already patched in here, so that piece was going to be gone. The inner fender on this side, this is where the battery box goes, so it's rotted, it's gone. You could patch it, but we don't do patching here, so it's just as easy. The time it would take for me to cut this out, make a patch, weld it in, grind it, time and materials, I could buy this $50, $70 part and spot weld it back in and be good as new, and you wouldn't have to worry about it from now on. This side was really good, kept it. Firewall, everything that I think that the car's going to keep, I leave it on there. Even some things that I think are kind of iffy, I leave them. And I have him blast them. Then when it comes back, I make the decision and I talk with the customer and tell them I lost this part of this. Usually I go ahead and tell the customer the worst case scenario. All this is going to have to get patched because they don't make this piece. All this will get patched in here except for the quarter panel area right here. This won't. I'll be able to make this out of the quarter panels that I have over there. The trunk gutters, I will end up replacing them. They have the number in them, so I will cut that out and put it in the new panel. Same on this side. There's the VIN number right there to the car. I'm going to cut it out and put it in. You can tell it's gone up through here. Quarter panel will fix all that. And Sandy John also paints it with a etch weld primer. And he's been doing it for a long time. He knows where to tape off and where not to tape off on these cars. This etch weld primer, it is a pain to get off if you want it off. So say I needed to do these spot welds right here and he painted it and I go to try to do spot welds. You could grind it out with a wire wheel, but it is a pain. So usually if I do, like, sometimes he might miss a frame rail and get it on the bottom of the frame rail and not tape it off, and I had to clean it off to be able to weld the floor to it. So I'll get the torch and I'll heat this up, and then I will end up taking my wire wheel and wire wheeling it off. But it takes heat or a lot of time with a wire wheel to get it off, which is pretty good because that means this stuff is really bonded to the metal. Like I say, Sandy John knows where to tape off. You can see he's taped this off right here because traditionally we used to take and cut the quarter in right here. We would cut the quarter in like most shops. We don't like cutting quarters in because that's not the proper way to do it. We always like to replace the quarter if we can. If you cut the quarter panel in, I'll stop peeling all that off. If I cut the quarter panel in right here, that's a lot of body work all the way down, a lot of welding, a lot of time. And if you come onto the inside of the car and look, you'll be able to see that line right there. You'll be able to see it and see that a quarter has been put in it. You can come around here, open up the trunk and look in there, and you'll be able to see the weld line in there and tell that a quarter has been put on this car. We like to make it to where you can't tell that there was ever any work done to it. We want it to look as close to factory as we can. I'm back over here peeling on this tape again while I was talking. But spots like, let's see, trying to find some more. Now all this will get cleaned off. It'll get cut and peeled off, and it'll be clean underneath it. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's some spots where there's some tape. There's some tape right here down this side. I thought there was tape somewhere else. Oh, there's tape on the end of the rockers right here where he taped it so that we can weld to it and we ain't got to clean it off. So it's still some spots from the wheelhouse. I got to clean them with the grinder, clean that up. He's got my rocker weld line down the bottom. It's undone, and I'm sure there's some spots on the inside that he's taped all in here. He's taped across where this will get welded to the floor. If I go up on the other side, I can show you. So my floor will get welded to this. Same right here. All the way down. The floor welds to the top of this. And I got to finish cutting all that off. And that's what we'll do tomorrow when I clock in and I'm on the clock. This is all just a freebie here. But anyways. So I clean all this stuff off. I'll get my son out here. He'll peel all this off. We open up the area so that he can blast down there. So now all that's treated. And usually, the way things happen is the frame rails, they'll look great on the outside and they'll look nice and solid. But that's because that's not where it rusts at. The spot it rusts at is on the inside here. All the stuff sitting in here and rots it, and the bottom side will be smooth and you can't tell, and you'll tell the customer, oh, the frame rails look great. And then it'll come back from blast and the frame rail will be blown out. And that's because all the rust stuff sits in here. I know that, so I always tell the customer that there's a chance that the frame rail will go bad. Sometimes I'll take my hammer, my body hammer with a pick in, and I'll hit on it and see if it punches through, and I'll know if it's soft. And I know what spots to check to see if it's soft in any of those spots. And these frame rails are good up front, so it won't be getting them. Also across here. Now you can see some pitting down inside of the cross member, but it's not deep, it's not bad. So it's going to keep the cross member, which is great. I try to keep whatever parts I can. I try not to replace something if I don't have to replace it. And firewall came out good. Little pitting on here, but I wouldn't replace the firewall. It's sandblasted, it's treated. It won't, nothing ever happen. All this is going to get peeled off tomorrow. Carefully, it'll get peeled off. The new floor will lay in here. The footwell, the seat pan brackets, they're good. They'll get cleaned up, and then etch weld primer will be sprayed on top of all this stuff before it gets put back together. Now, let's see. Trying to see if there's else to go over as far as what happens when it comes back from blast. And I can't really think of anything right now. Maybe before the end of the video, I will come up with something else to tell you guys, or maybe not. Now, moving on to the question about where's all the bracing. Somebody seen it on the trailer and they commented and they asked, where's all the bracing? And I said I would do a video talking about the bracing, when to brace, when not to brace. This car is not really a good example, but I will talk about it. And maybe in a later episode, I'll talk about it again on a car that would possibly need some bracing. But I'm going to flip around here and I'm going to show you guys why this car didn't need no bracing. First off, this is a convertible. This car is used to having no bracing. There's no need in any kind of bracing up front because the whole front end's still together. My A-pillars are still connected to my rockers. These rockers are convertible rockers, so they have a huge beam inside of them. They have it's like a 1/4 inch thick beam inside there. And it's not going nowhere. All this support here is still supported in the front. It's not going to go anywhere. My window frame is used to being up. That's how it is. It's a convertible. You don't have to worry about it moving anywhere. I cut no structure apart. All the main bones of the car are still left in. The back possibly could have used some bracing if I would have cut the back end of the car off. A lot of times I'll cut the car off where this line is. I will cut it all the way off, all the way across the car so that the customer could take their tail panel home and put it on the wall. I thought that I might be able to save the trunk gutters. The trunk gutters still don't look bad. Most of the rot is in the quarter panel. Still a chance that I might be able to save the trunk gutter and save the customer some install time and some money. This one over here's got a little spot in it. It's not super bad. Might patch, might not, because I'm going to have to cut this and weld all this in. And by the time I cut and weld all that in, I could have just cut and welded a patch in here. I'll know more once I get this quarter off and check the top of it and see how bad it is. If it's just that, chances are I'm probably just going to patch it, because I would use the same amount of time and material to patch this as I would to patch that. If I would have cut the back end of this car off, then I probably would have put me a piece of metal in here down to the frame here and just tacked it in to keep these from flapping around, causing it to weaken anything. My trunk hinges are still attached to my wheel houses that will be removed. There's no need in any kind of bracing on this car. Everything is pretty much still structurally sound. There will be some patching over here on this gutter. This is the gutter for the vinyl top. There, the water runs down the vinyl top and goes into this trough, and then it rolls around this trough, and then it comes out right here. It drips out of here and goes on down into the rocker down there and exits out the car. So these things are made to leak, but they channel it so that the water will go out. That's why it's always good to keep these. There's little things underneath here, which I can't really see. You can see it right there. It's a little dimple. And there's one right here. And what that is it sweeps out. And that's a spot for water to drain out of your rockers when water's in there. There is a hole in the back side that water can drain out. This car didn't really need no bracing. I was going to talk about this tool over here. It's a cheap one. It's called Killer Tools. KillerTools.com is where it was bought at. And it is a tram, and I use this thing to measure. I keep a book that I can't find. I don't know where it's at. It's somewhere packed. I'm going to get me a new tablet and start a new book before I get to cutting on this car anymore. But what I do is I take that tram and I locate a spot across on my windshield, and I write down, I draw me out a figure of this windshield, and I measure all my distances up, down, and then I'll get my camera and I'll come over here, and while I got my point, Erin just walked up. She didn't know I was making a video. We got to go pick the welder up. So I'll take a picture of my point, where my point is, and I do it, and then I take a long shot picture, and I take a picture of my measurement, and then I have a record of where I measured at, and I can look back at the picture instead of trying to look at my stick figure drawing and figure out where my point was at. So up here, this is the seam. So if I was going to measure across here, I would pick a spot where I was like at that seam, and then I would know every time that I measured from that seam, I could tell where it was at, because you can't really tell where you're at if you try to come in this radius. But out here, where that seam is, I can put it dead on the seam and go across the car and measure. The front end, I do the same thing. I draw out a hole, the square of the front end, and I'll pull measurements. I'll put it on the jig over there, which I've already started on the floor because it's getting mini tubbed. I'll put it on the jig, and I'll pull all my measurements from my center line on the jig up to spots. So I'll pull up and measure to these bolt holes. I'll pull up and measure to these. I'll pull up and measure like to the top of this. But I also do my measurements from up front of the car here back to like these points. I've got measurements that go across the car over to that side. And I also have this piece of tape on here, because on the front of my jig is a spot for, let me see if I can get it out. I have a laser. Aaron's grabbing, I've got 40 tools in there. So I have a laser that centers on my table. My bolts are tight and it centers, and when I cut it on, the jig will be level, and you'll see if I can get it on there, you'll see the light, and it'll shine back, and I can see on there where it's at. So when I have the laser on, I can take this, and when it's on there, I know on which side of this piece of tape. Usually I have it marked, but I know which side, and I'll get that lined up, and that's letting me know that my cowl top is centered across here. So it'll be over here on it, and then right there. And I know what the measurement is across here, and then I know what my center measurement would be. So that lets me know if I need to move this side in a little more or that side in a little more. And I do the same thing for my control arm, my shock towers. I measure them across. I got a center line for them. I do the same for the front right here from the center of the mounts for the A-arms. I've got a measurement there, and everything gets centered off of all that using this laser. Trying to think if there's anything else. I can't get the laser to turn off. So I come in here, and I also X this out. So I'll pull a measurement from across here to over there, and then I'll do across there to there. And it should all X out and be exactly the same when I'm installing my whole front end. I measure all this stuff before I cut the car down. That way I have it to reference back to. So if you're building a car from scratch and you don't have those, make sure you get all those measurements before you tear the car apart. Then you don't have to worry about bracing. If I had this removed out, I wouldn't have had to worry about bracing because I've got the measurement from here to here. You also want the measurement from here. You want to pick a spot that is stable, that's going to stay. So this is staying on here. We're only replacing this. So I'll measure from this hole, or either that hole that is in there, the arm will stick down in there. Aaron has it. So you can do the center of the hole, or if you want, you can come and just set it down in there and call that. And then you'll move out the end of this. Let me see. And put it at the center. Yeah, it came out back here. And put it at the center, and you're like, okay. And we see it's almost 32 3/4, close to it, which it probably would be. And you also want to make sure that you have these set at the same number, 14 and 14. Or I would set it down, if you're doing the angle, you'd set it down to where you're level. You want this level and where you're measuring at. So that next time you know that you want this level, and that's what your measurement's going to be. Because if you don't have it level and you have these kicked off and you put it at 33.5 and you measured it this way the first time, the next time it's going to be totally different. So
changed when you changed the level.
Yeah, so now that we're level, we're actually 32 5/8 right now. So 32 5/8, I jot that down in my book, and then I might check another spot to be sure, and I would go out to the front and check that front hole. And with it out there at the front hole, we're not level, so I would either lift that side or I would drop this side down. We dropped it down, and then we get our measurement, 42 1/4. And we just do that all the way around, but make sure that you're uniform with whatever you're doing. If you're measuring it with a tape measure, make sure you keep the tape measure on the same plane every time, because if you don't have it on the same plane, your measurements are going to be different. Trying to think if there's anything else that I need to go over, which probably not, because we're getting to be about 30 minutes in, and we got to go get this welder. I'll show you guys where this mounts at. This is it, and I drilled and tapped. Somebody broke one of them off right here, but they're drilled and tapped, and I'll stick that one down in there, tighten it down, and this thing mounts right on here. Used to, we had this big thing that stuck out the front here, and I didn't like it. It bolted into these bolt holes, and it came out and it came up, and it was very unstable. Being out here, it could get bumped and moved, and then that changes your center line. This here has less chance of error because I am bolted here and I'm bolted there. You also want to have your table leveled because with this thing is self-leveling, you can set it to lock, but it's self-leveling. And if your table's off, your line's going to be level. And anybody that's ever done any kind of construction or anything, when you're straight in line with your laser, your measurement, it can be dead on right there. But then if you're trying to keep that measurement up your firewall and you get up here, just a 1/16 out down here and within a foot can be a 1/2 inch, and it could change everything. That's pretty much covers most all of it, I believe. But pull measurements, check everything, put it on a jig, make sure you build them on a jig. If not, make sure you build them on their suspension. If there's anything else, maybe I'll let you guys know on the next video. We did get Aaron in on this one this time. So
drop your questions in the comments.
Yes, also like, share, subscribe, and I hope to see the channel grow more this year. Well, this year's almost out, but this coming year from now on, a year from now, I hope the channel grows. Seems to be growing. I think it's because I've been posting Mazda B2200 stuff, which is what's sitting over here. So you'll probably see some videos of the Mazda B2200. Got some big plans for it. It's kind of like my little project. And we're also trying to figure out how to come back with Tech Talk Tuesday. I have men's group on Mondays, and then Aaron has women's group on Mondays at church. And then my son and his girlfriend have the Vine, which is a young adults ministry, on Tuesday. And they don't have security up there, so I go up there and do security just to make sure that the kids are safe while they're at church, because the wicked times we live in now. If anybody needs any prayers, hit me up, let me know. Be glad to pray for you. Praying for all you anyways, praying that everything's great. I pray that everybody has a blessed and wonderful Thanksgiving, a safe holiday, safe travels. Everybody eats plenty of food. Nobody gets sick. Anyways.
We cooked our bird last night.
Yeah, Aaron cooked. First time we cooked turkey. I ain't never cooked turkey. I always just go to my parents, and me and Aaron might go out camping. We might hit y'all up while we're out camping and let you guys join in with us. We're going to try and figure out how to do Tech Talk. It might change days or something.
Thursday?
Tech Talk Thursday. That seems like about the only day free we have. It's always, most of it's church. And I enjoy church. And
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday's church.
Yeah, and I love the Lord, and most of you guys already know. But if you need prayers, let me know, and we're going to get out of here. We're going to go. It's Sunday, and we're going to a friend's to pick up a welder.
I get to see moo cows.
Aaron gets to see cows, and that's pretty much it. But love you guys, and I'll see you on the next video.